Today we're doing a president tier list of United States presidents.
The president's neck is missing.
I don't know anything about most of the presidents other than that they preside. I want to learn some interesting things about them. I'm going to rank them on number of mistresses. The less, the better. So starting out, of course, the one and only George Washington. Of course, we're going to be using the number one presidential resource, Mom Junction. George Washington, facts for kids. He led an army, led the Continental Army in the American Revolution, yada, yada, yada. Slavery was prevalent in the 18th century, and George Washington inherited his first slaves at the age of 11 from his father. Wow. An 11-year-old owns other people. He owned slaves. I think a bunch of these people they're gonna be knocked down a few pegs for owning slaves. That's probably it's probably not good. You know, one thing about me, I actually don't like it when people own slaves. He had more than 300 slaves in his house. In his will, he freed all his slaves under him and granted them liberty. He freed all the slaves under him and granted them liberty, but only after his wife was dead. He's like, my wife's still going to need some slaves. He's known as the father of his country. Okay, right. He's fearful of being buried alive. That's going to rank you up for me. So he directed that his body should not be buried until 3 days after death. So it stunk. So it was stinking. So it was stinking in the George Washington death house. I think I know everything I need to know about George Washington. George Washington, father of the country, owned slaves. A lot of them, too. 300 of them. Freed the slaves upon his death, except only after his wife died. But father of the country, he's Mr. America, father of the country, founding father. I just feel like it would be a patriotic sin to put him in C, though. Here we go. I need a little reinforcement here. I'm leaving him on B for now. Frequently asked questions. What was George Washington's personality like? George Washington was an honest and selfless man who stood up for what he believed, patient, responsible, and strong moral conscience. What kind of clothes did he wear? What kind of pants did he wear? Was he fond of capris? Did he like to show a little cankle? Maybe he liked to show off a little Washington cank for the boys. As part of the Army, George Washington used to wear a regimental suit with the blue coat trimmed with buff and a light members-only jacket. So for that, I pretty much learned he wore a suit and he was honest and selfless. Most of these things are really good merits. It's just you just by default have to really take the ownership of other people into account here. I'm going to go B, though. He's a founding father. It's got to go B. Goodbye, George. What else does Mom Junction have in store for me? John Adams. So I didn't even know this is what John Adams looked like. That's different than John Quincy Adams, which is something that I learned getting these pictures. I should know all this stuff, but I certainly don't. I would not pass a citizenship test. He was the only president of the first 5 U.S. presidents not to be a slaveholder. I already have to put that pretty high up, but we got to see where he gets demerited. Because there's going to be something, There's going to be something. There's always something. These guys are definitely human beings and not reptiles. Adams was not a popular president. His son, John Quincy. Okay, so John Adams and John Adams are both John Adams. He died on the same day as Thomas Jefferson. Was John Adams a good president? His stubborn independence left him politically isolated and alone. Even his own cabinet opposed his policies much of the time. He valued no one's opinion half as much as his own, except that of his wife, Abigail. Of course, his wife's name is Abigail. Everybody's wife's name is Abigail in this time. God, this is so boring. He created the Navy. He seems fine, so I'm saying B. Okay, cool. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was so impressed by macaroni and cheese during a visit to Paris that he wrote down the recipe and instructions on pasta extrusion, imported a pasta maker, macaroni, parmesan, and made it at his home. He served it at a state dinner in 1802. I am into that. That is a big deal to me for Thomas Jefferson. Okay, already at an A. He loved mac. He's a Mac boy. Sun avoider, he bragged that the sun had never caught him in bed for 50 years. As soon as the clock hands aligned, he would rise, immediately record the daily weather, and check the wind direction using a custom weather vane connected to a ceiling, so he was autistic. And that is keeping him at A, or bringing him up to S. He was obsessed with fossils. Autistic. Love that about this guy. He owned slaves though, right? God damn it. They're always owning slaves, these guys. I just go down to B only. Gotta go to C now. That sucks. I love this guy already, but I'm getting to the slave part. I gotta look that up. He passed away exactly 50 years to the day after the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. In an incredible historical twist, his political rival and close friend. Right, that's right. These creeps are always rivals and friends at the same time. Ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 ho. Oh, Bohemian Grove, you, sir, are my rival. Yes, we are bitter enemies till the end, aren't we? Yes. No, we shall not make any closed-door deals at Bohemian Grove. All right. Oh, This is the guy who, the DNA test. This is the DNA test joke guy. Isn't there a Key and Peele sketch, right?
Thomas Jefferson.
DNA tests in 2000 show a familial gene between their descendants. It's like a bunch of people are related to him. Black people are related to him. Thomas Jefferson, amount of slaves. He enslaved more than 620 people during his adult life. Yeah, this guy's a fucking ghoul. He's a ghoul. But the mac and cheese, though. Without him, there's no America as we know it. Right there. Otherwise, he was unfortunately a man of his times. So that's C. I'm going C. I mean, whatever. James Madison, Sunday carriage arrest. He and Thomas Jefferson were once pulled over and arrested while taking a Sunday carriage ride because riding carriages on Sundays broke local laws. So he's a felon. He's a criminal. And he's an immigrant criminal. We really don't know what he liked to eat. One theory is that Madison liked Virginia ham. I'm not a big ham guy, so not loving this so far. When Madison was on his deathbed in late June of 1836, doctors offered to try to keep him alive. We can keep you alive long enough so you can die on the 4th of July like John Adams and Thomas Jefferson if you want. And Madison refused. He said, no, I'm dying today. He only weighed about 100 pounds and stood about 5'4". He's a small president. So he was a small man. He was a petite man and weighed only 100 pounds. Jesus, 100 pounds? He's the shortest and lightest president. He didn't fight in the Revolutionary War because he was too small and sickly. He was a man of few hobbies. He didn't like to eat. He liked to play chess and read Latin and Greek. Okay. So you're like a kind of boring guy. How many slaves did James Madison own? About 100 people. So far, that's actually less than I think anybody I've seen so far. He viewed it as a moral wrong. I love how they all view it as a moral wrong, and they're just like, God, this sucks. This is so bad. You guys, this is so bad. We should probably not do this pretty soon, at some point after I'm dead, probably. He didn't own that many, but he was very slavey still. Very slavey guy. And boring. We don't know what he ate. Honestly, my gut's telling me about this guy. It's it's probably pivotal to America. He's getting a D. Next is James Monroe. What does a James Monroe do? So James Monroe. Nicknames. Last of the Cocked Hats. In the middle of a heated argument, James Monroe chased his Secretary of Treasury out of the White House with a pair of fire tongs. Now that is putting him right up at A. He died on July 4th also. What? How? Are you serious? How is that possible? They're all dying on the 4th. Fireworks mishaps. What, is that true? I mean, are they lying? That seems lie-y. After the War of 1812, there was relative political peace, economic growth, and nationalist fervor. He sounds like he was a slave guy, but there was the fire tongs. But it seems like there was general positivity going on, so we're going B. Next one, John Quincy Adams, son of John Adams, apparently. He was very well educated. That's good. He became a lawyer without going to law school. Okay, buddy. He was a sloppy dresser. He was a careless of dress. He sometimes went to church barefoot. He loved to swim. He disapproved of Lord Byron, don't we all? He liked to measure things by counting his steps. I have found by experiments frequently repeated that my ordinary pace is 2 feet 6 inches and 81/800ths of an inch. When Adams became set, they didn't have enough to do back then. Group meditation annoyed him. You can argue that he had the best pre- and post-presidential career. He sounds like a stand-up. How many slaves did he own? He owned 0 slaves! 0 slaves! I abhorred slavery and did not suffer it in my family. My guy, dude. That brings John Adams up. I love how he's higher than George Washington. And we're going to go to his son, who I have in B right now. And Quincy wasn't above. I see him as the least destructive. Fought against slavery, fought against Native American removal, signed off on biggest infrastructure bills. Seems like an underrated guy. Honestly, this guy seems like these John Adams guys, they're what's up. Sounds like they're pretty good presidents, man. They're really good. We got the Adamses. Andrew Jack. We're going Andrew Jackson. He killed a man in a duel. A man named Charles Dickinson called him a worthless scoundrel, a poltroon, and a coward in a local newspaper. He challenged him to a duel. At the command, Dickinson fired and hit Jackson in the chest. The bullet missed Jackson's heart by barely more than an inch. In spite of a serious wound, he stood his ground, raised his pistol, and fired a shot that struck his foe dead. God damn it. We were crazy. He won the popular vote 3 times. He was a target of a first assassination. He adopted 2 Native American boys. He was a notorious gambler. His portrait appears on the $20 bill, although he detested paper money. He was all about them shillings. He sounds crazy. He survived an assassination attempt, beat his assailant with his hickory cane. The only president to bring the national debt to 0, but we got inflation and depression shortly after. Everyone loved him to the point he was almost trampled to death by the people at the White House when he won. He was a ruthless slave owner. His wife died the day he found out he was elected president. Whoa, really? When he died, he believed his rival politicians poisoned his wife. She died of a heart attack. He signed the Trail of Tears and started the genocide. Of the Southern Indian tribes. He adopted a Cherokee child to show how egalitarian he was, although he was responsible for the kid's parents being dead. Okay. This guy's nuts, dude. He has fought in the creek with Davy Crockett. He had a facial scar from a British soldier who cut him. It's a fascinating guy, you know. It seems like this guy was really a piece of shit. The man is a legit bloodthirsty psychopath responsible for the Trail of Tears. I mean, right. All right, he's our first F. Fuck you, Andrew Jackson. We got Martin Van... well, we know about the Van Buren boys.
There's a street gang named after President Martin Van Buren?
First president with a luxury toilet. He's also responsible for the most of the deaths resulting from the Indian Removal Act. A lot of the Trail of Tears shit is also Van Buren. Martin Van Buren was the first American-born president. He's the only president whose first language wasn't English. He accelerated the Trail of Tears, handled the Panic of 1837. Hey, I don't know anything about that, but anything called a panic of a year, not good. We're keeping him in F. We got 2 little shit boys down here in F. William Henry Harrison. Oh, he just died 30 days into office. He promised not to run for a second term, but by God, he definitely didn't. It was 30 days. I mean, you can't really give him much. I mean, he died 30 days into thing. Moving on from William Harrison. John Tyler. More children than any other president. He was sworn in by William Cranch. Legend claims that JT was playing marbles with his son when he received word that he was to be the next president. His last words, "I am going. Perhaps it is for the best." It sounds like he didn't really do much of anything, to be honest. How many slaves did John Tyler own? 70. Not that it's like a slave Olympics over here, you know. 1 is too many, but it's like I gotta differentiate them. Many of his policies reflected pro-slavery ideals, so slave owning, he thinks that was okay. I'm going D for John Tyler. James Polk. He came in, did everything he promised in 1 term, left, went home, and dropped dead. He's an inspiration of mine. It seems like the consensus is that he achieved his campaign promises. I'm picking up that he was a good president. People like him, and I like him because they like him, and I get all of my opinions from others. He had no kids of his own. He owned a pet parrot. That keeps him high up, dude. He had surgery without anesthesia to remove urinary stones. He helped start the first postage stamp. Okay, this guy seems really good, actually. I dig this guy. We're gonna put him in B. Zachary Taylor. Guy looks kind of familiar. He only served from March 49 till his death, so he's 3rd on the list of shortest times in office. Taylor is usually ranked at the bottom quarter. It's not his fault. He just died. We're going with C for Zachary Taylor. Millard Fillmore. He looks like a Baldwin. He had a pet eagle. That's very America. Going A, so we're starting out strong. Pet eagle. Okay. He was a tailor, so he was a man of fashion. So Fugitive Slave Act is terrible. That sounds like the kind of act that would be terrible. Underrated president, but by no means a good one. The A is probably going to have to go down. It seems like he's a weak, terrible president. Okay. He didn't own slaves, though. That's pretty good. We're going D on that guy. Franklin Pierce. Sounds like this guy let the Civil War happen. Really bad president. He was a depressed man. He ran over a lady. Pierce was arrested while in office for running over an old woman with his horse, but his case was dropped due to insufficient evidence. He ran over an old woman with his horse. Okay. Now we're cooking. He died of cirrhosis of the liver from heavy drinking. He was a drinker. He sounds kind of like he sucked. He sounds like he sucked, and he ran over a lady. I'm just going to go D. James Buchanan, very easily bottom 2 president. Trashiest president, didn't do anything about the South. Left Lincoln and America at its absolute low, famously incompetent. He was the worst president on the base that he allowed disunion. He had mismatched eyes. He loved fancy hats. He kept a herd of elephants. So he seems like he's like the worst president ever. But I'm actually not giving him an F because it seems like these two were like demon guys. And this guy seems just like a real piece of shit president. Abraham Lincoln. Gatorade. Greatest president in U.S. history, one of the most legendary figures. He definitely was not racist by today's standards, but obviously wasn't perfect. Like didn't he say like the black man is not my equal or something like that? His only negative was he wasn't bulletproof. It's cliche to consider him the best. He probably was. Strength, wisdom, and patience he showed during the darkest hour of his reign. He really led America during that, didn't he? He was very hero guy. He sounds like a real fucking badass president. This is an S-tier president. Yeah, all right. The guy seems like a real badass. Okay, cool. We're going Andrew Johnson, which apparently, according to one of those comments I saw, was another really bad one. He was unlikable, turning national politics into a brawl for no real reason whatsoever. Johnson had been less of a dysfunctional personality. He could have otherwise done everything more or less the same and come out more positively in the eyes. So he did normal shit, apparently, but was a prick about it. He was super drunk during the inauguration. The guy became VP and during the inauguration decided to become shamefully publicly drunk. He was the absolute worst at working with others. Johnson made everything a fight, even things that were utterly pointless. So what I'm gathering from this is he was kind of like, I'm president now, Lincoln's dead, what's up, let's get drunk. He was impeached. Crude racism, stubborn, he's a primitive, sounds like a real piece of shit. Sounds like a really bad president. I don't know, he's going F. Ulysses S. Grant, he's hailed across as the general who saved the Union. Overall, his military reputation is held up well. He's in a tomb. Anyone buried in a tomb has got to be a good guy, right? Grant's my favorite president, but I see him as a B-. His best act is squashing the KKK, right, of course, which lasted for 50 years. Worst thing is the Sioux Wars, the Great Sioux Wars. That sounds like that is very bad. I don't know it, but it sounds bad. Where he would allow gold settlers to invade American Indian lands. So that kind of drops him down. So we're going to stick with B. Rutherford Hayes. He loved music and singing, hosting sing-alongs at the White House. He had a pet goat named Grinnell. He banned alcohol at the White House. Him and his wife Lucy didn't allow alcohol, earning their nickname Lemonade Lucy. He supported education for all. That sounds pretty cool. He lived to see the telephone invented. Sounds like he's not the worst guy. Was a good president, ranked much higher if he had served 2 terms. It's sounding like this guy is actually not too bad. Rutherford Hayes never owned slaves during his lifetime. He defended roughly 40 runaway slaves in court. I mean, I'd say that like if he had accomplished more, I'd probably put him in A, but it seems like he's just kind of a pretty good president. James Abram Garfield. That's a badass picture. He hates Mondays. He was the first left-handed president. That's nice. I am left-handed. He was shot. He was shot at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station, less than 4 months into his term as president. The shooter, he was an office seeker who had distributed copies of a speech he wrote promoting Garfield. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he was all right as like a guy. The guy who killed him even supported him, and that's what he was bothered by him. Let's put him in B because of what he could have been. Chester Arthur, best president between Grant and Teddy. Very underrated, modernized the Navy. Expectations were low, but he did really well, it seems. Goated with the sauce, but largely held back by Bright's disease. We're going to stick with B. It sounds like he's a really good guy. Grover Cleveland. He routinely answered the White House telephone and read his own mail instead of letting staff do it. He's the only president to get married inside the White House. He was famous for honest dealings. He's in my top 10. It sounds like this guy is not really that big of a deal, kind of. I don't know. I'm going C on him. Enlighten me in the comments. Tell me how stupid I am. I know how stupid I am. But tell me how stupid this is, because I'm sure some of this is just like, you're like, what? How are you going to put Millard Fillmore above Martin Van Buren? I literally do not remember the facts that I just learned about all of these people. I'm going to pick this up in another video because I'm hot and I'm too stupid to continue. I forgot to look up the president's amounts of mistresses. That was my plan. I wanted to know how many mistresses these people all had. Well, let's do it right now with Grover Cleveland. How many mistresses did Grover Cleveland have? He had one. He had a mistress. Okay, well, that's not good. Bye.